What is a recipe? This has been hard for me to come around to, but it finally came to me. It's a form of instructions. Like the instructions are written by someone who hopefully has skills, expertise in that thing, to the others interested in the results. Find outcome of what the instructions that you will get. Okay, sounds good. But what about a coffee recipe? I guess the same thing. Instructions for a coffee maker to make a coffee that is delicious, tasty. But then you start to think of all the variables, and that is where things can start to get fuzzy. Like not realizing that the brewer is part of the recipe. About a week ago, I decided to do a coffee experiment. Something simple most people will see or think of. And I went about it. I was going to brew the exact same coffee in all these brewers the exact same way. I was thinking about it. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm going to do the same thing. Same water, temperature, same amount of water in the kettle, same grind size, same coffee, and all that good stuff. Everything's going to be constant. But as I was going through the experiment, I had some friction for myself because I couldn't really do exactly everything the same way. You know, with a Hario V60, which is one of three of the contestants in this actual experiment, it's 30-second bloom, like we normally do, just variations in it. And then you pulse once, twice, 3, 4, 5 times. But in this case, I did it twice. Same 1:15 ratio. Then I picked up the French press and I put my 150 grams of water with my 10 grams of coffee inside the vessel. I stirred it. I let it steep for about 4 minutes. Same temperature. AeroPress. Same ratio. But, different design or different recipe. Stirred it. That's the way I usually do it. And waited about 2 minutes, plunged down. Not all the way down, didn't want to get all that stuff. It's various things online and things that people talk about how to properly do the AeroPress. All these recipes have their own ways of making coffee, right? But as I was sitting there and enjoying the coffees, how even though the coffees were all the same type of coffee, they had variations in taste, flavor. I don't think I remember to get a TDS, which is perfectly fine because at the end of the day, I was just testing those coffees for what they were. And then as I was sitting there and just kind of contemplating about what I was going to talk about today, I realized that I was probably going about it all wrong. Meaning that I was already set up for failure from the get-go. Coffee doesn't care what you put it in. Coffee already has a personality. Will it change from time to time with different vessels, different recipes? Yes. But at the end of the day, one thing I really forgot, which you probably know, is that the coffee brewer, to an extent, is the recipe. I couldn't do the same thing that I was doing in one vessel versus the other, besides the grind size, the ratio. the temperature. Everything else had to have its own life, its own way of actually making that coffee. And I didn't realize that. And why is that a real big deal? Because a lot of times, whenever we talk about recipes, we don't even think about the brewer itself, how important, how critical it is to understand this actual thing right here. It's a variable, it's a huge variable. And even when we look at this particular vessel, it has a different geometry, it has cone shape, right? And then you get different papers, you get different whatever else you want to get, a booster or whatnot. And now we're really changing things up. That's within the same exact vessel. Same thing here. The French press. There's so many intricate, different details of recipes out there that we can use at our disposal. But one thing that I truly forgot this couple of days ago is that this vessel is set. How different will it be if it was like a square shaped French press, which is kind of weird, but whatever. Will that change it up a little bit? Yeah, it would. Crazy amount? I don't know. Probably not that much. But look at the circular cylinder. Look at the plunger. Look at the way that it actually brews and steeps the coffee and all that good stuff. This is more so similar to AeroPress, but it has that wicked pressurized function on of it that makes it unique to this, right? And I forgot that. I forgot that the brewer is what we should understand more than anything. It's something that I didn't realize at the time that I was already losing the game of truly understanding these brewers. And I think I got my point in the whole grand scheme of things when it came to actually brewing a cup of coffee, tasting something different in each of the coffees. But I just didn't realize that the brewer was something that was a part of the whole playing field, the whole recipe. The thing that we're trying to make something tasty, right? So what did I leave off with you right now? There's many variables in coffee. We know that. But one thing that I have to kind of understand and try to provide to you as best and as honest as I can is that this thing is important, it's critical. We have to pay attention to it. We have to study it. We have to understand it to the point to where we know what we're going to get out of the coffee. And I know that depends on the coffee too. That's part of the recipe too, right? Something that we don't talk about enough too. A story for another day, right? But we have to truly, really understand what's going on here. Because I know for the most part, I can't steep a coffee for 4 minutes on a Hario V60. It's a different type of mechanism than the AeroPress even. And once you start to understand that piece of the pie, understand that it's critical that we understand this particular thing, we're going to be in a better spot because of it. I have this analogy that I thought about just yesterday. We don't play the violin the same way we play a piano. We may have the same tunes, the same lyrics, and all that good stuff, but they're totally different beasts. It's like if I was giving an expert who was doing a violin to do the same thing with a bass, they probably couldn't really do it. You know? Because they're different instruments. Just like all these coffee gadgets that we love and fond over and geek out over, that's what that is. And I think the biggest takeaway in all of this, as I sit here and ponder and wonder about all of the stuff that I do have, is that I need to also take my own advice about staying in the pocket, staying with a brewer for long enough to understand it, to grasp it, to know its pros and cons and things that it can do and can do. Knowing that for the most part, if I do this to the coffee, then I'm going to get this result of it. Because it's just really just understanding the device more than anything. Beyond the grind size, the ratio, the temperature, the swirl, or the technique that we want to do in all this. So, yeah, the recipe, all of it matters, especially the brewer, because you can't isolate that piece of the whole dance that we play with this. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you've had these thoughts about what a recipe really means. Because now you're the expert. You're the one who's trying to make something tasty. Pick your choice. Pick it wisely. Go deep into that rabbit hole of understanding this vessel, or this vessel, or even this vessel. You can learn all of them. You really can. But at the end of the day, pick one or two. Really master it. Because you'll realize that that's the secret weapon in all of this. You understanding exactly what you want to do with your coffee because you understand the vessel. And then eventually you start to not worry about what the vessel can do because you've already gone through the gauntlet with that thing. And now you're just thinking about that coffee, the way it's prepared, how you're going to bring the best out of it. So, yeah. Let me know what you think. Talk to you later. Bye.